Welcome to the Nobody Knowz podcast with Callie Zamzo. Join us for conversations with local changemakers and hear the stories that don't always get told. It'll be honest, messy and beautiful, touching and humorous. Slow down, pour a glass, and pull up a chair. This is the Nobody Knowz podcast.
Welcome to Nobody Knowz. I'm your host, Callie Zamzo. I'm going to start off with a bang here and just talk about the tip of the week for Zamzos. I'm excited about it because we are getting ready to hire a whole bunch of people. So this is our seasonal time. We kind of begin to build our team that will help us get through the spring. And so we have some job fairs coming up. So I just wanted to share this with you and hope that you will share it with other people if people are interested in working at Zamzos. So the job fairs are going to take place on February 27th and March 3rd from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. And they're going to take place at the Z Event Center, which is, for those of you who don't know, a little event center that we have. Mostly it's a training center that we use within the company, but it's right next to the State Street store in Boise. Not the State Street store in Eagle, but the one in Boise that's across from the River Club. So it will take place there. It'll be from 3 to 6 p.m., February 27th to March 6th. This is 2026, in case you're listening in the future. And we are hiring for all sorts of positions. So if you have interest, show up and you can bring your resume and come join us. And we'll meet you and talk about the job options. And you might walk away with a job. So please share the word. We would appreciate that. And it is an exciting time at Zamzos as we gear up for spring. As we call it, it's our Christmas time, springtime. So it's exciting. And it does mean that spring is going to come, which is exciting too, because sometimes we wonder at the end of February whether spring will ever come. I'm going to jump right in because I'm very excited about the two guests that I have. Yes, two guests today. I'm very excited about this. So today I'm talking with Remi McManus and Kris Komori, and they are the co-owners of Kin, which is so cool. So I kind of feel like I'm in a cool kids club right now because I feel like the whole valley knows who you two are and what you've done and this wonderful restaurant you've created and a bunch of other things you've done. So welcome into the studio and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
First, I hope that there's a chance for people to catch on video the look of the two of you because you are an eclectic couple. Like you're very different. Like you're kind of outdoorsy and you kind of seem like
I'm less outdoorsy.
We're going to get to that for sure. Before we get started, will you just take a moment? Let's start with Kin. And will you guys take just a moment to kind of give us a description in each of your own words of what Kin is?
Oftentimes, I describe Kin as more of a community engagement center than I do a restaurant. While we serve food and drink and offer hospitality, we're more of a welcoming entity to the community, very invested in community involvement and connection with guests and staff and other things. We seek to showcase artists and makers and farmers and ranchers. So while we are serving food and drink, like I said, we think about it more as a space for people to engage with each other.
I love that.
Yeah, I would totally agree. We're on the same page for that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a space for people to connect, we just happen to be good at making food and serving drinks. That goes along with it. We're a restaurant, we're a bar by traditional definition. We throw parties. So.
And you're located in kind of if you're a Boisean, it's a kind of an iconic area. What did it used to be back in the day? What was the
Angels.
Angels, that was it.
It was started in 1976 by Skip and Doug Oppenheimer as a place called the Main Street Bistro, though.
Oh, no kidding. I guess I don't know that I knew that. That's interesting.
Not many people did.
Yeah, but for those people who don't know, it's the cool restaurant that's like down the hill. What is that? The corner of 9th and
Main.
And Main. So yeah. It's such a cool location.
Yeah, it was the original Shakespeare Festival location.
It was?
Midsummer's Night Dream, that first season, and then they took off.
Wild. I thought the first location was on the river there, like, the prior to where they are now.
Yeah, right on the Park Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first space was our space.
That's very cool. Oh.
Only one play, Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay. Oh, that's great. I love that. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about how did the two of you meet?
Well, I had started working on a project called State and Limp, a restaurant called State and Limp. And this was roughly 13 years ago, I suppose. Jay Henry and I were partners in that. And as we were building it out, just the two of us, very small restaurant on the corner of State and Limp on State Street, the word got out that we were looking for employees and looking for chefs. And Kris actually just happened to walk in the door. We talked to him for about 45 minutes to an hour that first day. And then he came back again. And all of a sudden, a week later, he's painting walls and laying carpet with me. And it was just kind of meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, this is like 3 or 4 weeks into it. And I was like, do you guys want me to actually cook anything for you?
They just liked you, huh? I was like, oh, you're a cool dude.
Remi's the Boise native. I moved from Portland that summer of 2013.
Okay.
And I started, actually, I kind of wanted a little break and just to acclimate to a new place. And I worked for a farm. It was Sweet Valley Organic. So they have a farm up in Sweet, but I was actually signed on because the guy foraged mushrooms. And as mentioned, I'm not very outdoorsy. I thought that I was learning how to forage mushrooms, and turns out I'm not suited to carry 100 pounds of mushrooms on my back walking up mountains. So he was like, well, why don't you work the farmer's market? So it was actually the first year that the Boise farmer's market split off when they were still on Grove Street.
Right.
And through the summer, I actually did a farm-to-table dinner out at the farm, and a bunch of people that go to the farmer's market were there, and they came back to the market, and they said, I didn't know you could cook. And then a bunch of customers started saying, oh, you should go check out this restaurant that's being built called State and Limp. So that's actually how I found out about it. And it was literally like rode my bike from the farmer's market over to the place one day.
And just walked in. Just
pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was covered in sheetrock dust.
Yeah.
And it was great.
So you had this thing you were going to create, but you didn't have and it was a food place, but you didn't have the person who was going to make the food yet. Did you just kind of know that it was going to happen?
Well, Jay Henry, who was my partner at the time, was also a chef.
Okay, so you figured he was going to be doing, okay.
Yeah. It turns out Kris was more suited for it, but Jay's also a great guy.
Yeah. Oh, what a cool, I was not expecting that story. That's pretty cool. Okay, so then at what point I guess how long did you do the State and Limp thing before you decided to?
So we did State and Limp for exactly 5 years.
Okay.
And as we started to build a relationship, Kris and I, many late nights, the wives can attest to this, many conversations about what the future would look like, where we would go from State and Limp, some of the ideas that we both shared, some of the ideas that we didn't share, but we would like to express within the culinary industry, within the hospitality industry. And everything just started to kind of blossom through that. We built an incredibly strong culture at State and Limp and incredibly strong relationships, essentially family. And when we went on to work towards building Kin, essentially the entire staff came with us.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, we were sort of just looking for something maybe like 25% bigger, it was pretty tight in there. Like, guests were right up on the wall, and we had to like shimmy by. So it wasn't the best suited location space, at least. So yeah, just grow incrementally, I think.
Okay. So at what point did you say, okay, we're going to find this new space, but we're going to develop a different concept? And like, when did you decide, when did you decide on Kin?
Well, that was 2018, I think, right? So this fall of 2018 is when we moved out of State and Limp, and then we were kind of nomadic for a couple years, at least a year. And yeah, like Mary mentioned, most of the crew wanted to stick with us, but we were kind of like, well, you got to go find other jobs for a bit. We would do farm dinners and various things and bring everyone back together. But yeah, they had kind of dispersed. And meanwhile, we would still all meet up and kind of brainstorm the idea together.
Okay.
And then we were just trying to hunt down locations and stuff like that.
Okay. This is a unique partnership. Can you just, for my own sake, because I love to kind of understand people's personalities, how are you guys the same and how are you different?
We're incredibly different. I think we share a lot of similar traits as well. I'm definitely a dreamer. Kris is as well. Kris is very studious. I'm not so. And I'm interested in throwing parties and hosting events. And I've been doing so ever since I was a kid in high school in my mom's basement. And Kris is kind of the glue that holds certain things together organizationally. I've learned through many years of being involved in business to do those things, but it's not my favorite. Whereas
it's obvious on his face when it's not his favorite.
But Kris is incredibly good at that. So much so that he can get so involved in it that he might even put on a bunny suit to run Excel spreadsheets for days at a time.
It's my comfort blanket.
I wish you'd have worn it today.
But we're both incredibly invested into the things that we talked about earlier: community engagement, staff involvement, ownership. So
you have a very strong shared vision about things. Yeah. And then you can each operate in your own world and respect each other for your strengths.
Yeah, I mean we're lucky that we align on the major why, in the core beliefs of the place. We differ a little bit in little nuances here and there, but in general, we work really well together.
Yeah. Well, you must. Yeah. You've created some cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. So before Kin fully existed, so did you guys feel like there was something missing in the Boise scene that you were trying to fill, or was it driven by something else?
I wouldn't say not necessarily that anything was missing or that we felt like anything was missing. We just essentially wanted to grow, and part of that growth wasn't necessarily that we needed a bigger space, although we did. The idea was that we wanted to be able to provide more for our staff. In a small restaurant that only has 24 seats, it's very difficult to do that. When it's 24 seats, it's open 4 days a week. There's a certain price point. There's a certain amount of seatings. So by growing, expanding the space to 28 to 30 seats, and then also opening a bar that could capitalize on more guests, more money, we could provide more for our staff, but we could also be more invested in the community. We could be downtown, so there would be more engagement with that as well. Downtown businesses. That was kind of the emphasis on the move and the expansion.
Okay. Kin to me it's radically different though. It feels radically different. And I think it's because of your why behind it, your drive behind it. And it seems very, very people-centric. Despite the fact, and we'll get to this, that it is incredibly good food. I mean, award-winning chef here, right? So tell me about that. Was that something that you both shared and you just kind of realized together that this is, or does it just sort of evolve?
I think that it was always there between us. It definitely matured in a way, and we were able to kind of almost identify it and be aware of what we were doing. When you ask was there a niche that we were trying to fill or avoid in the food ecosystem, it was we were already kind of outliers in it. So we were just we're lucky that we get to be weird and do something different, So we were kind of already in our little place. But yeah, I mean, one of our core competencies or our one core competency is to connect, right? And we've said that already a couple times. And so that's us connecting with our staff. It's us connecting with our community, with farmers, ranchers, other creative economy areas, and ultimately with our guests, right? And so now that we can do all these different things, have all these programs, classes, weird offsite events, and it's always comes down to how do we connect with that?
You guys know that's different, right? And the reason why I say that is because I know of restaurants that I like going to that they are making food and people come in and they eat the food and then they leave and then that's it.
Sure.
You guys, with Kin, that's not the case. Like, is anybody even allowed to do that?
Yeah, it's funny. I think when you're a different person, and from the outside, people might think that you're different, but you don't realize you are. So it's just something that we do. It's something that we value. It's who we are. So it's really hard for us we do understand that we're different to a degree, but I think we're much more different to an outsider than we are to ourselves.
That makes sense.
Yeah, even if it's another chef friend or a restaurateur and they say, you guys are different. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, what I'm picking up just in this brief bit of time that we've spoken here is the authenticity of both of you. Just this, you have this vision, you're going to do it. And there's not, I don't know, you don't have a lot of like flowery language around it or anything that you're trying to like sell me on. It's just is what it is, which I love. There's something very appealing about people who are incredibly authentic. And that's what I'm getting from both of you right now, that you live your lives authentically. And when an idea comes up and then you're going to try the idea and away you go. And you don't really have that litmus test of whether the public cares or not, because you're going to create it from your heart and the people who are meant to be attracted to you will come. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, we're actually doing an artist menu right now featuring John Morse. And the very beginning of the menu, we speak about authenticity, and because it's one of the things that he expressed to us in his art, and making sure that the art that he produces and the way that he feels about it, that he's remaining authentic to his creative ideas and his life. Mm-hmm. It definitely resonates with us as well. You know, making sure that we're authentic and taking a look at ourselves and what we do, and making sure that all the things that we do are honest and intentional and authentic.
Yeah, to a fault. We have conversations all the time where we're not necessarily businessmen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so we have conversations where we're like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we always swimming upstream? It's like exhausting, but we can't help it, I guess.
Yeah.
So we embrace it. And, yeah.
I feel that. I definitely feel that. Being a part of the fourth generation of our family business, I sometimes I'm like, why? But then I can't help it either. It's like it's in our blood. What are you going to do?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Remi, can we talk to you a little bit about before Kin? And I understand that you were a cycling coach, and then you were part of you created a movie of some sort. Did you bicycle?
Not a coach. I was a professional cyclist.
Okay.
For years, and then I went on to create 3 different films with a friend of mine, Justin Baylog, called Share Territory, where we traversed the center of Iceland. And then we also did the U.S. border in a film called Borderlands, and then also Peru, which is a film called Share Territory, Ozangante.
So what was in that part of your life? Like, why did you decide to do those things?
Oh, I mean, it's still part of my life.
Okay.
The Ozangante Peruvian trip was just weeks before we opened the tasting room at Kin. It was during Kin's lifetime.
Wow.
Actually, conversations at 17,000 feet with Kris over the phone over things that were happening at the restaurant. So,
that's cool.
I mean, it's still definitely part of my life in my mind, not as much part of my life in reality. As work just, takes more emphasis. But it's something that I strive to still be involved with, whether it be, cycling or skiing or outdoors with my family and whatever it might be.
What is it about that? Because I like take the Iceland where you rode your bicycle with another person, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, like, what, because this is not in me. I'm just going to be honest. You wake up one day and you're like, I know what, I will ride across Iceland, and we'll go ahead and we'll video it. And
Yeah. Well, Justin's a professional filmmaker.
Okay.
He and I had met years previous on a project called Sportful Aventura, which was essentially a project where we worked with a company called Sportful and Castelli to essentially market their brand via storytelling. So once a quarter, a group of us would go and adventure into certain areas of the country, certain areas of the world, and just spend 4 or 5 days together, riding bikes, telling stories, narrating, all a part of brand marketing, but through storytelling.
Okay.
And through that, Justin and I want to expand upon that and do essentially what Ken does, connect more with community, connect more with people around the world. And that's how Shared Territory came about. And the idea of Shared Territory was essentially that, to tell the story of these wonderful territories that we all share as a people. And one incredibly interesting story that came about when we were in Iceland, we were the third day on the road, and we were staying in this, shared house. And we were sitting down to dinner, and there was another family in there. The dad came in, and he was speaking with us a little bit, and he had a guitar pedal shirt on. And Justin is a guitar pedal enthusiast collector. So they started talking about it and found out that they shared the same love. Well, come to find out, he lived in Portland. He had recently come to Boise for a writers' convention. And then he started looking at me, and all of a sudden he said, "You're the guy." And I didn't know quite what he was talking about. And I said, "I went to a restaurant in Boise, and it was the most incredible experience. And you were the guy that worked there." So we were all the way across the world near the Arctic Circle, and a gentleman recognized me from our tiny little restaurant in Boise, Idaho, and spoke about the experience that he had in our restaurant that seats 24 guests while
That's
we're
amazing.
in Iceland. And I think that just resonated with me, and the connection that you can have with people in a tiny little restaurant, but you can share it all the way across the world. And learning the stories about these people and these cultures, and being able to share them with the world, it was really, really great for me.
Do you think you'll do something like that again?
I hope so. We've been talking about Scotland for a number of years.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So my father's this way, and so I'm curious if maybe you are the same way, where like there's really he doesn't have any, like, boundaries is not the right word. That sounds bad. But like, he doesn't see, so you can bicycle across this, but you can start a restaurant, you can invent something over here. You don't fit into a box. Do you see that?
Probably not.
Yeah. And
probably not that's not necessarily a good thing, I would say.
My mom might agree with you on that one.
So would my wife.
It's I think it's a unique characteristic, and it's pretty cool. It's fun to watch from the outside.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Moving over to you. So, Kris, tell me a little bit about can we hear about your background as far as how because it's been quite a journey getting to the point where you are now world-renowned, recognized chef. So can you kind of share with us like where you started and kind of your trajectory there?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, it wasn't like dreaming of owning a restaurant and being a chef, that's for sure. I never really knew what I wanted to do. And it was just a little bit of like trying stuff out. And my mom always said that I was like a gazelle, because instead of going in one straight direction, I was always zigzagging, bounding back and forth. But she said, like, eventually you'll get to where you're headed, And it never really made sense for a long time. I went to the College of Idaho for undergrad, and I was studying biology and chemistry. And I just tried all the things. Every summer it was like a different internship, and I enjoyed it, but it never really felt like it fit. The whole time I had been working in a restaurant. Started as a dishwasher when I was like 17-year-old freshman, and then just stayed at that restaurant. So that's how I was paying for school. And I was essentially working full time, but I was more in the front of house, serving and managing and things like that. Had actually, in amongst the academic side, I was finally like, well, I don't know what else to do with this biology degree. So I decided that, maybe I'll like apply to med school. So I was a little bit behind, but I was going through the process, and I was in the interviews, and I realized, like I'm making all this up. I'm lying to them, and I'm lying to myself. And so I basically like told my family, which is a hard thing to be like, I'm not going to go to med school. And they're like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I'm going to apply to culinary school. And they were very excited, which was maybe not a surprise, but food has always been like very integrated into my family, grandmothers and stuff like that. And so, yeah, pretty much like the next month I moved out to Vermont to go to culinary school, and it didn't have an end goal, right? It was just like, I wanted to learn the craft. I'd been in restaurants and I loved the pace and the camaraderie and all that stuff, but I wanted to learn the craft of actually cooking. And there was a time in one specific class where everyone was going around saying like, what is your 5-year plan? What is your 10-year plan? And every single person said, I'm going to own a restaurant. And I was the last one, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to own a restaurant. I just want to learn how to cook. And now I think I'm the only one that owns a restaurant out of that group.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Interesting. So from there, you graduate and then just start working at restaurants? How did you?
Yeah, it was a little bit of bouncing around. I was in Seattle for a little bit and worked at a restaurant called Canlis. And mostly I kind of got my chops in Portland. That was like in my mid-20s. And it was a great time to be in Portland, where it was like a lot of chef-owned, small, farm-to-table, seasonally driven restaurants. Did all butchery in-house and things like that. And I ended up working at one place for a number of years and then kind of bouncing around. My wife and I, we knew that there was the potential that we were going to move from Portland. We didn't know exactly where, but we knew there was a chance. So the last year that we were in Portland, I left the restaurant I was working at, and then I called in all the favors of everyone I knew, and that was like doing butchery, working at a cheese shop. I owned a pickle business that we sold at farmers market. It was like wine. It was front of house. It was all this stuff. And when I moved to Boise, I had 12 W-2s.
Wow.
And it was just like fun, it was like working with friends and their ventures and things like that. But like looking back, it was like, whoa, it was a crash course. It was well-rounded in the whole food world, from retail to farming to all the stuff. And so I try to recommend it to our cooks, but it's like a very weird path to go down. But now it's like, having personal experience with all those things really helps a lot.
Yeah, you both have weird paths. Like as far as like, maybe I should just say unusual. I don't know whether you guys are offended by weird.
That's why we are.
I love weird. So, very, very unusual. Do you ever just stop for a moment and go, holy shit? How did like the perfect storm happen where you walked in the right door and the whole like, do you have moments like that where you're just momentarily like kind of in awe of the situation that you've sort of happened to find yourselves in?
To a degree. I think there's a lot of things that have to happen, and there's a lot of risks that have to be taken on individuals' ends to create success, and whatever success looks like, whether it's monetary success or whether it's emotional success or business success or success that people imagine from the outside. I think there's a perfect storm definitely has to happen, but I think you make your own luck for sure. Yeah.
I think you're right about it. I was also going to say, I think there's a perspective probably from both of yours, especially the way that you were describing kind of your journey. As you look backwards, you're like, oh, it's perfect. But when you were in it, it was kind of like, oh, and you probably feel the same way. I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and then I'm going to do something else. But then you look backwards and you're like, oh, everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen to lead to where we are now, and to have the knowledge that you have and the abilities that you have and the resources maybe that you have, those sorts of things. Do you stop for a moment sometimes and think about that perfect storm?
Not very often, I would say. I think that's probably part of why we just kind of head in a direction, is we don't necessarily analyze it too much. I think, again, like being almost to a fault or being a little bit naive, it's like, for me personally, at least, it's like, it's not that I'm a risk taker. It's more that, like, I'm not worried about screwing something up or failing, because in hindsight, you learn from it. And it's been, when I was younger, there was that. And it has, like, as I've gotten older, it's like becomes less and less, because you just go through things, you make mistakes and you learn. It's something that we try to impart in our staff as well. It's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Cooking is all about making mistakes, so long as you actually are intentionally learning from it.
Right.
You know? And so just as for a business, for just life in general, it's like, you don't have to be trepidatious about taking the wrong step, because it might be the wrong step in the moment, but later on, it'll get you in the right direction. So
there's a lot of trust in, I'm just going to say, the universe. Like, there's a lot of trust in that. And for me anyway, it didn't come until later in life. When I was younger, it was like, oh, I've got to do this and I must do this. And am I doing this right? And now I feel much more able to relax a little bit and say, well, that's odd. I wonder what I'm going to learn from that, or whatever. And do you think that's an age thing? Is that something we get as we kind of mature a little bit? Is that?
For some people.
And some people just have. Do you think you've always had it?
I mean, I've always been a risk taker my whole life.
Yeah.
And I also did things outside the box my whole life. While certain individuals were worried about doing homework and turning that in on time, I certainly was not.
Yeah.
And it shows. I think everybody has a different personality and a different risk assessment. I think as I've gotten older, I'm actually more risk averse. Not necessarily for myself, but for other people.
Oh, sure.
I've raised my kids totally, I wouldn't say totally sheltered, but more sheltered than I was, for sure. And I look back on it now and I wish that potentially I was...
You mean like not letting them do backflips off over Bogus Basin Road?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wish that they would do that now. I look at my son, growing up, and I'm like, I wish you were jumping off bridges into the Boise River. I wish that you were hitting rope swings. I wish you were jumping Bogus Basin Road when you were 16 years old. And at the same time, I wish he wasn't.
Right.
So that's just how it is, And
yeah.
I think that I don't look back on things and say, oh, I would change this or I would change that. I think I'm happy with where I'm at, and just go. Just keep going. Like Kris said.
Yeah.
Don't look back. Just keep going.
Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to distill it. So I have a daughter who just left for college, and I raised her differently than I was raised, but the outcome was actually, she's more like you than I was, as far as, like, I was a little bit more contained, and I was less willing to take risks. And, here she is. She's like, yeah, I'm going to New York. I'm going to, and so I wonder if that's part of it. Like, we live our lives a certain way, and then when we're raising our kids, maybe we use part of that, and that's part of why they turn out maybe a little bit differently than we do. And it's probably a good thing, I suppose.
It could have something to do with your spouse as well.
Oh, that's true.
My wife's definitely more risk averse than I am.
Yeah. I feel that. Okay. So, so you started Kin. It's something that's completely different. Can you describe, for somebody who has not been to Kin, could you describe kind of some of the things that make it different? Or in your case, I guess, just describe it, since you guys don't think it's that different.
So the Kin side is a prefix dining experience, essentially. So the guests would be greeted at the door. We would walk them back, open the door for them. Upon arrival, they are greeted with a low ABV or a non-alcohol cocktail, and asked to browse the gallery. We rotate our artwork every 15 weeks, so we can showcase a lot of really incredible local artists. When guests finally sit down after browsing the gallery, all of the guests sit side by side. They have their own table, but it's very close. And we serve 7 to 8 courses throughout the course of the night. The menu is story-based. We always have a theme for the menu, whether it's based on stories from our staff, the environment, local nonprofits. one of the artists being featured. And one of the staff members gets up and speaks about every single course. Excuse me. Whether it's, we'll start the evening off, tell them what to expect throughout the course of the night with an amuse-bouche. And then as we progress through the night, each course is described, the story behind it, as well as the techniques that go into it and the ingredients. And then the audience begins to eat. And because guests are sharing the exact same experience as the person right next to them, and we offer certain things that essentially instigate conversation, the whole room becomes like this one dinner party. You know, every once in a while there's a party of two that's not necessarily all that interested in speaking with other guests, and they kind of stick to themselves. But for the most part, you know, you have a variety of people that are sharing an experience, and it becomes like the coolest Thanksgiving dinner you've ever had with strangers. And then as the night, you know, finishes up, you find people lingering and sitting at the table and sharing stories and sharing phone numbers and pictures of kids and pictures of dogs and whatever it might be. But some of the most compelling things that happen are at a dinner table with your family. Some of the most interesting things that happen with us are when guests meet each other and they trade phone numbers and they end up going somewhere else a week later. And we have a number of people who've met at the four that I'm speaking of, met at State and Lemp, first time that either of them have been there. They sat next to each other. They came in a couple of weeks later together, and now they travel the world together.
Wow.
Just from a happenstance conversation sitting in a restaurant.
That's really cool.
So that's the experience. So if you want to make new friends, come to Kid.
I like that. So before you actually arrived here, there was another person that was kind of talking about having, so there's is it two seatings in an evening?
Seatings,
okay.
Yeah.
So the first one starts.
So during the weekdays, we start at 7 p.m. There's one seating. On Fridays and Saturdays, we have two seatings. One's at 6 and one's at 9.
Okay.
And the 9 p.m. seating is called Supper Club. It's an unpublished menu. You're kind of at our whim. The style is very, very similar. It's a little bit looser, potentially. We might swear here and there. We just show our personality slightly a little bit more. But it's a fantastic experience at a lower price point. It opens up the door to people who potentially have been saving up and really want to try it and want that type of an experience. But then it also is full of people who just prefer to dine at 9 o'clock.
Which I don't understand anymore now that I'm 50. I can't. That would destroy my sleep. But I love it. And this was a young person that was talking about it out in the hallway. But also mentioning that the vibe is a little different in the evening and the 9 o'clock sittings. They were talking about how kind of cool it is. And anyway, it made me I was wistful of days when I could eat at 9.
Yeah,
it's always cool.
It skews a little bit younger, but it also not necessarily all the time. I mean, it's people that are interested in what we're doing and interested in food and beverage and things like that. So sometimes it has a slightly different atmosphere, but I don't know. They're pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's cool. Why did you decide to do it that way? Or how did that come about that you decided to have these seatings and have? I mean, I think I already know the answer to why you have people within close proximity of each other and all of that. But how did the whole the doing the prefix and all of that fun stuff? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, that was the idea that I had been doing those dinners in Portland with friends, not in necessarily like an established restaurant where that was the routine all the time. But they're really fun, right? Like even from the functional side, the creativity of building a menu as opposed to an a la carte menu where you don't know what people are going to order, how it's going to go. From a kitchen perspective, the menu is just, it's creating an album instead of just like single songs. Right. So there's a lot more room to be creative with that. And then the one seating, I mean, we talked back so when we tried to open in March of 2020.
Oh,
And
I didn't realize that.
it was a full, like the summer of 21 when we finally were bringing people in, and we were talking about, do we have individual tables, right? And we waited and we waited and we waited because we said, no, it's got to be this one communal style, because that is the connection, right? That is like letting your guard down and being with other people and having this shared experience. So we stubbornly held on for as long as we could and finally got people in the door. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, exactly what you said. That was the intention behind State and Lemp. And it really just took off. And, we found that we were able to build those connections, and we wanted to expand upon that. And like Kris said, in 2020, it was very obvious to us that that was not going to be the case. And so instead of changing who we are or what our mission was or our abilities to share stories and connect with guests, we decided that we would wait for a very long time.
Yeah.
But we were able to do interesting different things within that. When everyone else started offering pickup food or delivery food, whatever it might be, we took a fair bit of time to analyze what that would mean to us, because there is no connection when someone picks up your food or whatever it might be. So we came up with the idea of doing Kin at Home, and that started as delivering a 4 to 5 course meal to people that was 80% prepared, packaged up, and then a friend of ours, Guy Hand, would come in and he would film essentially a 26-minute television show with us. And I would introduce the theme. One of our staff members would introduce the mixers to the cocktail. One of our staff members would introduce the wine pairings. And then Kris and Michelle would prepare the food. And then Kris, as studious as he is, he would prepare a 4-page, direction to how to prepare it yourselves. And that way we were able to get the connection to the guests. They could see us, they could hear our stories, and then they would start sharing it on social media and what have you. And we were actually able to do 17 menus.
Yeah, I think
17 menus. And throughout that process, some of the companies around the state were actually ordering their Christmas party that way. And we would live stream it.
Wow.
So we would live stream the whole interaction of us telling the stories and cooking the food while they were doing the same thing. And some of these, we were delivering food actually to New York and to Chicago overnight. So all of the people in the company that were based here, but some of them were working in other places, could engage and have their Christmas party together on Zoom. It was amazing. So that was the way that Kin actually started the dining and cultural experiences.
That's so great.
It was pretty cool.
I feel like I'm going to know the answer to this, but do you ever stop and just kind of marvel at the creativity that is your partnership? Like, it's really something, and it seems to be ongoing. You don't seem to run out of steam with your creativity. It's not like you're getting bored. It doesn't look like it. If you are, let us know. That'd be an interesting topic to talk about.
Well, the timing of opening in a pandemic was interesting, right? Like, creativity is one way, but we were sort of forced into the situation. But we were fortunate in the sense that we didn't have a model going yet. It was like we had hired people and then we furloughed them after 2 weeks. That was like how close we were to getting open. But it allowed us to kind of be more adaptable. I mean, we've always known that we're adaptable. We're a small team and we are highly skilled in certain aspects, and so we're pretty loose about it too. So adapting and changing is part of our strength. And creatively, it's a muscle, right? It's like a habit that we've just been training all this time. And so when all that happened, it was like, well, no problem. Let's just do something else. So we did the Kin at Home. We did the picnic. So we mentioned that we got that amazing hillside that had Shakespeare first. So we were talking about that and how to engage the space outdoors, right? Spaced out and safely. And we also knew that like the art community, musicians and things, all the tours stopped. Their income fell out. And so we were able to develop series where we would host artists, whether it be like LED and dance or different bands from around town. And we would, people would buy tickets. We would space them on the hill or on our patio. We'd have a little meal for each person in these 3-tiered metal tiffins. They'd have a cocktail, and they would just show up, and we'd be like, pick a spot, and everyone is spaced out. And I think it was maybe like the first one. I mean, it was amazing. People were like crying because they didn't realize how badly they needed like theater and performance and to be in a space while safely distanced, but like to be in a space together.
Yeah.
So that was really, really special. It was not very efficient and it didn't make any money, but
nothing we do makes money. It builds community. It was a really impactful thing, and it really cemented our standing with the arts community, I think. We hosted 60 shows over the course of the next 2 years.
Wow.
And like Kris said, it was with LED, it was with Boise Contemporary Theater, it was with traveling bands, it was with, working with Treefort, working with Eric Gilbert, working with all these different organizations, Ballet Idaho and Opera Idaho, all of these different organizations that we've now built relationships with. It was really impactful for us as well as the community.
Yeah, life-changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kris, I want to take a moment to just congratulate you on the James Beard Award. Can you share with us, I guess, first of all, if somebody listening doesn't know what the James Beard Award, could you kind of describe that first and foremost? And then could you share with us the experience?
Yeah. So the James Beard Award, it's a foundation built after James Beard, who actually lived in Portland, became a food, like one of the first food celebrities, shows with Julia Child and things like that, and was giving back through that to the community a lot. And so when he passed away, they started a foundation based in his home that he had in New York. And now they do a bunch of scholarships and trainings and things like that for industry people. But the main thing they're known for is the awards. And so I don't know when it started, but essentially people kind of compare it to the Oscars for restaurants. So there are individual chef categories based on region. We are in the Mountain West, or in the Mountain region. And there's also national ones for restaurants, for service, for wine program, for bar, and all sorts of different categories. So it was the summer of 23, and it was out in Chicago. And we had been nominated semi-finalists. Well, I think this was our 5th time, spread amongst the 2 restaurants. And we got into the finals. And I had some friends from different areas that had been in the finals before, and they said, we got to the finals, we didn't win, and then we were not nominated again. And so we were like, well, this might be our one shot at this might be the last time, right? So we decided to bring our whole staff.
Wow.
So we were like 22 probably with us. We got
so cool.
We did get 1 free ticket for me. Very generous of them. So we I mean, it was insane. It was, again, just one of those decisions where like, why are we doing this? But there was like no way we weren't going to do it. So we had to like fundraise for this trip, which was also a funny experience. But eventually, we got everyone out there. And it was really special. There's like, it was a red carpet thing, everyone on our crew, all ages, all in like gowns and suits. And it was one of those like, well, man, we can clean up, right? Luckily, our category was at the beginning of the whole thing, because I wouldn't have wanted to sit there the whole time, not knowing. I think we were like the 2nd category, and I don't know, like it was helpful to have our whole crew there, because when they name the nominees, like we're the loudest group, and I But I pretty much just blacked out from there.
So you don't remember the moment that they said your name?
I didn't even hear my name because I think like it popped up on the screen first and our crew just like erupted, right? So I was like, well, I mean, I'm assuming that was it. And as I was walking down, you know, we were in the back. So I'm walking down the Lyric Opera House and it's full and it's a beautiful theater, right? And I'm walking down and on the screen up top was just a camera on me. But I was like, I didn't actually hear my name and now I don't see it. And is this potentially the most embarrassing moment of my life? So that's pretty much like what I'm thinking. And then it's like, okay, well, no one else is up. So I guess this is it. Yeah. So I don't know. It was a really surreal experience. And it's awkward for me even still because it's like, it's my name. You know, obviously Remi put in just as much as I did and so did the rest of the team. So it's like, how do I get this spotlight as one individual when it is like a team effort and has been for a decade, you know? So to try to express that to everyone, and you know, it's like, I don't know if it's received in such a way, but there's almost like, it's not like a guilt, but it feels weird, you know? And then it was like, it probably took a full year afterwards for me to be like, oh, it's okay. I don't have to like be guarded about winning this award. And part of it was like, when we got back, I mean, the response was incredible, you know, of like people from all over just being like so happy, other chefs, other restaurants, where you would maybe think maybe there's a little jealousy, but for the most part, everyone that reached out was like, this is great for us. This is great for like Rising Tide, like that kind of thing. There was a woman that said, she was like, you know, I'm not a sports fan and I've never understood why people would cheer for a team until we watched you guys win. And she was like, I felt like we won. And so that was really cool. And then to be able to sort of deflect the spotlight a little bit and to share it with the arts community, with nonprofits. Like we do a ton with all sorts of nonprofits, and we can kind of use our, you know, like the name and the brand and being identified in the community, and we can share it, right? We can kind of spread it out now. So
yeah, it's interesting. The whole time that you were talking about it, I was in my mind thinking, did I screw this up? Because I thought he's the one who got it. But the whole time you were saying we this, we that, we our. And so it's just at the very end here that I realized, oh no, it really was awarded to you, but it really wasn't, because it was your whole team and you made it about your whole team, and it's always been about the team.
Yeah.
That's wonderful leadership.
Well, I don't even do it on purpose. So
that's even better leadership. That's like the best leadership of all right there. So that was going to be my question to you next, just to both of you. If somebody is, and I always say it's a young person, maybe it's not, maybe it's somebody like me who wants to start a restaurant or is thinking about doing something different, and it's creative but it's a little out there maybe, and maybe not what other people are doing. What advice would you give that person?
Don't be risk averse. Kris was talking about the team. I grew up in team sports. I spent many years as a cyclist. I owned a professional cycling team. I think the leadership comes from mutual respect and camaraderie and an understanding. I think if you're going to start your own business, whether it's going to be sole proprietor or a partnership or a community, I think having an open mind, being able to respect one another, understand one another, engage with one another, I think that is the basis to a successful business. And I don't say success with monetary value. Right. I just say success for yourself and success for those around you, really.
Yeah, and if it's restaurant specific, part of me would be like, don't do it. But
all of me.
But I don't know. It's like, it's that why. You know, you win an award and there's like, we walk around town and people know us, and like that seems glamorous and whatnot, but it is not, right? It is like, especially a small business restaurant, it's like we're doing dishes, we're peeling onions, we're doing spreadsheets all day. It's like it's not as sexy and fancy as you would think. And so you got to be able to understand that it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of doing things repetitiously, things that you don't want to do, and you have to embrace it, and you have to kind of enjoy it, right? And so if you believe in why you would create such a restaurant, that is what will push you through. And then, as you mentioned before, that is what people will connect to, that because it's the person, right? It's not necessarily the food and the drink. It's like they're there to support that place and the vibe and the atmosphere that it is. So to figure out why they love to be in restaurants, why they love to serve guests, the hospitality side of it, and then if they truly believe that, then I would say, yeah, now let's talk about the finances. But if they don't feel it at that time, then it might be like it'll grind you down if you don't really truly believe in it. So
great advice from both of you. Thank you for that. I'm going to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Zamzows. This episode of Nobody Knowz is brought to you by Zamzows, your local source for garden, pet, and planet-friendly products. At Zamzows, we believe the places where we work, gather, and grow together matter. Whether it's cultivating a healthy garden or building a workplace rooted in care and collaboration. Visit Zamzows.com or stop by one of our 12 Treasure Valley locations.
Nobody knows like Zamzows.
Okay, we're switching gears. This is the part we call sharing is caring, kind of rapid fire questions. So I will throw them out there. Either one of you can answer as you desire. Both of you can if you like, if you're feeling up to it. We'll just kind of see how this goes. How about a creative idea that surprised you recently?
It's funny because I feel like in the conversation I realized that nothing really surprises us creatively.
I looked at that question earlier today and I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I was really racking my brain. I was like, I don't know. It's the whole process for us. So.
Yeah. I have been surprised by just the way that you guys, like your demeanor, the way you take things on, your thought processes. So maybe that's it. When you just live in the surprise, everything's just normal.
We see surprises every day.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It's cool. I feel cool being in the room with you. Did I ever mention that?
We feel cool being here.
It's great. It's wonderful. Okay, how about a local artist, farmer, or maker that you admire?
I thought about that question a little bit before we came over here. The trick is that we work with so many local farms, local ranches, local artists. As I mentioned, we rotate our artwork every 15 weeks. So we get to engage with so many different artists. And with the picnic series that we did, honestly, I just admire any of those individuals who have taken the step to really dive in and make it a profession. And pour their heart into it and learn through that process, especially the ones that have become professional. And I don't mean professional by making a living at it, but I mean the way that they approach it as a business and understanding the concepts and, like John Morris said, remaining authentic to the things that you're doing and your mission.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that inspire me the most, not necessarily any individual artist. Maybe Kelly.
As for me, for farmers, it's Janie Burns.
Huh.
She owns a very small farm out in Nampa. It's called Meadowlark Farm, and lamb. It's just like it's a very like self-sustaining farm. But what is so inspiring of her is she is getting towards the end of her farming career, but she has invested so much into young farmers, into different even getting like more, like government wise, like of like protecting farmland and things like that. And she's just like, it's been a whole career of this vision of like what it could be and sacrificing for other people. She's a huge mover in the farmers market itself, and it has exploded, and it's this huge thing now. And she's been a huge part of that. And so it's just small conversations about how she like knows my kids and has watched them grow, and then but just what she's done for the whole food community is really cool.
Oh, great answers. All right, how about something outside the restaurant that refuels each of you?
Oh, the mountains for me, for sure. I mean, spending time in the mountains or on a trail on my bike in the middle of nowhere. The idea that I can be the exact amount of time away from my house as it will take me to get back from my house. For years and years and years, that very space was in Loman, Idaho. If I rode my bike from Boise all the way around what we called the Big Loop, it was 152 miles, and Loman was the exact halfway point.
Wow.
So I would be halfway from home, but it was a real long way. So I could either come back one way or loop around. I just get refueled being in nature.
Yeah.
The silence of it, but also how it empowers you. I think that being in nature is great. I also live right on the river, so just going to sit by the river on a Monday morning all by myself, even if I'm making phone calls to guests that are potentially coming in, it's still a refueling for me.
I like that. How about you?
For me right now, it's like I'm actually trying to get out the restaurant a little bit more here and there and balance stuff, because I have 2 kids, 6 and 10.
Okay.
So for me, it's like, it's engaging and spending time with them, and making that a little bit more habit. It's, like young kids, it's fun to watch how their brains work, right? Like how they just like
It's the best.
worry about things, or how they bounce back from things, how they soak things up like sponges. And it is a little bit like, can I still do that?
Yeah.
And so thinking about that, and so it's fun to like draw inspiration from the mind of a child, I think.
Yeah. Well, spoiler alert, you're going to feel that way when they're 18 too. I'm still I'm just in awe. And sometimes I'm like, this child came like through me. She's of me. Like, who is this person? Like, it's amazing. It's really, being a parent is pretty cool.
Yeah, my kids are 20 and 16, so
Okay.
A little bit further along, but also very interesting to watch and see them grow.
Yeah. It's a wonderful gift to give ourselves, I think. Okay. This is the last question. We ask this of all of our guests. There are no rules, and somebody can know it. So here's the question. What is something that nobody knows?
Well, my 20-year plan is to have a koi pond in my backyard. However, the 20-year plan restarts every year.
Plans like that.
Nobody really knew, because I didn't want to be held accountable to actually starting the timer on that 20-year plan. Because currently we just have like a beta.
All right.
So there's a little growth there.
You got to start somewhere, right? Well, we're here for you. Let us know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to have a koi pond in my backyard in 10 years. I don't know. I mean, one thing that a few people know, but I'm actually blind in my right eye. I was hit by a baseball in high school.
Wow.
And so there are very purposeful reasons for the way that I do certain things at the restaurant. But yeah, not many people are aware. Even a lot of employees are shocked when they find out.
Wild. That's interesting. Great answers, you two. Love that. And all the way around, what a wonderful conversation. I feel, my mother used to talk about, like, sometimes you'll be in the presence of people that will change you just in spending time with them. And I feel that way about being here in this room with you. I feel inspired. I feel like I could definitely be a little more creative, maybe a little more authentic. Maybe I can, do some things that I wasn't sure I could now. So I appreciate the time with you, and you're very inspiring.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a gift to the community, and thank you for your wonderful restaurant.
Well, we certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow the podcast and leave a review. Next week, we'll hear from another incredible voice shaping the Treasure Valley. And until then, thanks for listening.